Hello, welcome back. My name is Alex, the owner and founder of Motherhood Blooms Lactation, and this video is 10 things that I would tell my pregnant self about breastfeeding. Basically, 10 things that I think every person who's expecting a baby should know. These are 10 things that I'm always talking about with my clients, and they are 10 things that can really help you feel confident and help set you up for success. So let's get started. The first thing that I would have told my pregnant self about breastfeeding is that cluster feeding is normal. Cluster feeding is a period in time where your baby is going to feed very frequently. So they are going to be feeding sort of every hour through the evenings and into the overnight during those first few weeks after they've been born. And they do this for multiple reasons. This happens around days 2 and 3 because they are working to increase your milk supply. We see it happen again around weeks 3 and 4, between weeks 6 and 8, and this is your baby growing, your baby stimulating your body to make more milk. The more often that they're at the breast, the more signals that are sent to your brain to tell your body to start to produce more. So cluster feeding is not a sign that your milk supply is low, which is actually the second thing that I would mention, because it's a normal pattern. We want to see it happen. It's a really good thing. It's biologically normal. It can feel really difficult in that moment, but it is something that we want to see happen. So it is something to be expected. And the second part of that is that it's not a sign that you have low milk supply. Your baby is doing their job and helping your body to produce more milk. The third thing that I would have told my pregnant self about breastfeeding is do not accept pain as normal. Painful breastfeeding, it's common. It is something you might have already heard being pregnant, people telling you all kinds of stories of what happened to them, and it can scare you. It can make you worry about what to expect with breastfeeding. So many of my prenatal clients have fears going into breastfeeding that it's going to be painful because that's what they hear and that's what they know to be true. The reality is breastfeeding can be a very comfortable and very enjoyable experience. You might have some soreness in those first few days just due to some hormonal fluctuations. You and baby are new at this together, but if you have pain, if you're bringing your shoulders up to your ears, if you're tensing your body, curling your toes, just dreading your baby latching, that's not normal. That's where we want to connect with a lactation consultant so they can help you get to the root of what's going on. There's always an underlying reason, and we can help figure out what it is so that breastfeeding can be a comfortable experience for you. The fourth thing that I would tell anyone who's expecting a baby is if you are going to be pumping at some point or you think you might be pumping, measure your nipple diameter for the appropriate flange size. So what that means is every breast pump comes with something called a flange. It's the plastic piece that fits onto your body. It's the piece that would go over the nipple and the areola. The size that comes with the pump is quite often much too big for most people. What I have found in private practice, what a lot of my colleagues are also finding is that most people are measuring smaller, a lot smaller than what's being sent in the box. And that can create a lot of challenges, which I'm not going to go into detail in this video, but make sure that you measure your flange size. Fifth thing that I would tell anyone who's expecting a baby is that you are the expert of that baby. You don't know them yet, and when they get here, it might not feel like you're the expert of them, but I promise you, nobody has lived your life experiences, and nobody is going to be a better expert on that baby than you are. The sixth thing that I would tell you is that it might not feel natural at first. Breastfeeding is a very natural way to feed a baby, but it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for both you and your baby, and that's okay. The seventh thing that I would have told my pregnant self or anyone expecting a baby is to do more skin to skin than you think is necessary. So skin to skin right after birth is a really wonderful experience to meet your new baby, bond with them, get breastfeeding off to a really good start. But it can also be a tool in your toolbox as you start to parent this little baby. When they are fussy or things are just feeling overwhelming or baby's having a hard time latching and breastfeeding, getting back to skin can do wonders. So spending 30 to 45 minutes at a time where baby's just in a diaper and you're completely undressed from the waist up can be really beneficial. Skin to skin is also something that your partner, if you have one, can do with your baby as well. The 8th thing is plan ahead and actually ask for a meal train delivery service. So this little baby is going to feed a lot, and it's going to be really difficult some days to feed yourself, especially if you have an older child. And if you've got a partner who maybe isn't so savvy in the kitchen, things can get pretty difficult pretty quickly. So asking for a meal train delivery, ask your friends and family. Everybody wants to come over and see the baby, but tell them that you need support too. Get them to bring you foods. Have them contact someone else to bring a meal the next time. Setting that up in advance can actually make that first week and those first few weeks, depending on how much support you get, feel a lot easier when it comes to breastfeeding your baby. The 9th thing would be that this little baby is going to eat frequently. So expect them to eat often. Every 2 to 3 hours doesn't necessarily match how a newborn feeds. They do feed frequently, but some actually feed more than every 2 to 3 hours, especially when they're cluster feeding. So that thing that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, when they are feeding very frequently, that's gonna put us well over every 2 to 3 hours, or well over 8 to 12 feeds, looking more like 15 or 16 times that they're feeding in a 24-hour period. And I say 24 hours because we do want them and expect them to be feeding at nighttime. The very last thing, number 10, that I wish my pregnant self would have known at the time and that I'm telling you is to trust yourself. Trust your instincts. You are the parent of this baby. You know them better than anyone, better than your pediatrician, your midwife, your OB, your lactation consultant. You are this baby's parent. You have instincts. It might be hard to connect with them, especially with all of the white noise of social media and society and all of those external pressures, but trust those instincts. If it feels like something's off, it feels like something's wrong, reach out for support. Connect with a lactation consultant to help you, because chances are you're right. You may not know exactly what's happening, but I never, ever, ever go against what a parent is telling me, what their instincts are saying. So the very last thing would be to trust yourself. You've got this.